Hello everyone and welcome to my next presentation about Chinese character etymology and phonetic series. So the leading character for this series is pronounced dui, dui, in the fourth tone, and originally it meant joy, and I think a more frequent meaning today would probably be exchange. Exchange. And from what I understand, this is the meaning of the character that you can also find in Japanese, for those who are interested. So, but the original meaning was joy, and if you look at the previous forms of this character, this one over here is the Oracle Bone script version, which is the oldest one we have that we can compare to, and this is the Seal script version over here, which is a younger one. So if we're talking about dates, this was probably formed, it's difficult to say when, but we can, I think, safely assume that it was at least 9th century BC, 10th century BC, because we can find it in some documents from that time. And this character over here was definitely formed at around 200 BC when the entire Seal script was created. This is the most recent, or I should say, regular script character, which was formed, well, I'm not very sure about this, but roughly around somewhere 3rd, 4th, 5th century AD, and we use these characters in writing up until today. This is the traditional version of this character. The simplified version is slightly different. It's written like this. So the top two elements, two strokes are written in a different direction, but it's structurally the same character. And originally, if we look at the Oracle Bone script version, which is this one, originally this character depicted a man with a mouth open with something coming out of it, which is supposed to depict a sigh of a person, a breath of a person, an exclamation, right? So it points to the meaning joy. And if we look at all three characters, we can clearly see that they didn't change that much. But what changed in the Seal script was that the character was strictly separated into three parts, which wasn't the case in the Oracle Bone script. At least I think when they were creating the Oracle Bone script, they didn't really have these structural elements in them as clearly separated as they have had in the Seal script and then subsequently in the regular script. So it is formed by a man, a person over here, which is the bottom, its mouth over here, and the top today is something we pronounce as ba, and it means 8, but it also means to divide. And in this case, it only represents the sort of the breath of a person. But since they had to choose an element that would sort of structurally fit the Seal script, they had to choose the thing that most closely resembled, a character that most closely resembled these two strokes over here in the Oracle Bone script was ba, the number 8, or divide, and they just sort of put it in there. And so if we look at the regular script, we clearly see these three elements again. So we see the top ba, these two strokes, right? 1, 2, these two strokes. Then we see the kou, the mouth in the middle, and then we see which is it is a suffix as well, but earlier on it used to mean a person. So this entire series is a very interesting and complicated series, as you will see in just a second, because there are three sort of phonetic subgroups in it. So let me just first write the pronunciations and you will see what I'm talking about. So the first character is pronounced shui. The second is pronounced rui. So this is pretty clear, right, up until now, because we see that the title phonetic element is pronounced dui, and then we have shui, rui. So the final is resembles 100%. The tone is the same. The vowels that we have in the final are the same. And it's really interesting also because of the fact that even today the readings of these three characters resemble a lot, because what usually happens is that the reading of the phonetic or the leading phonetic character that is in the remaining characters and the reading of the characters themselves don't match that much. But in this case, it's a perfect match when it comes to the final. But then when we continue on, we have the pronunciation shuo of this character, shuo in the first tone, and tuo. So we have a second class or second subgroup of finals here. This character of course has a second pronunciation as well, and it's pronounced shui. It has a different meaning. when it's pronounced shui. So as you can see, shui, rui, shui, dui is the same phonetic group, and then we have shuo and tuo, and the last one is yue, yue, and yue again. Okay, so a very interesting phonetic series, because we have three subgroups, as I mentioned. We have a wei subgroup, wei. Then we have a wo subgroup, and then we have a yue subgroup. Sorry. Yue subgroup. And let me tell you, like, straight up front, that it's extremely hard to, well, it's not extremely hard, but it's pretty hard to explain why there are these three finals, or these three phonetic subgroups in this entire group. However, it is explainable, like, nonetheless. So definitely what we can say, or based on my research that I've done, I look at some reconstructions of, pronunciation reconstructions of these characters in Middle Chinese, and reconstructions of Ancient Chinese, or Old Chinese, I should say. I looked at readings of these characters in Japanese, Korean, and Vietnamese, and at pronunciation of these characters in different Chinese dialects. And it's pretty safe to assume that all of these characters at one point, including the title character, had the pronunciation wei, and that all of them had the pronunciation yue. It's a little bit more difficult to prove, or sort of to explain, why there is the pronunciation wo, and whether all of these characters have been pronounced with the final wo at one point. But nonetheless, I mean, it's pretty. You can assume that that was the fact as well. So the fact that that they are pronounced in three, that there are three phonetic subgroups here today, doesn't mean that they weren't all, or they haven't all pronounced the same way at one point in history, or maybe in all three of the three, with all three finalists at one point in history. What is difficult to explain, however, is which was the first pronunciation. That is to say, which was the pronunciation of all of these characters, including the title phonetic character, when the whole series was created. That's pretty hard to explain, and I will look into it a little bit more. And if someone would like me to do a presentation on that topic, I can do that as well. However, it's going to be very, very technical, and probably not very interesting to everyone. So, to explain the etymology of these characters is fairly easy. Like I said, the difficult part is to explaining why there is the phonetic element dui in all of these characters, when quite obviously today in modern Mandarin we have three such different pronunciations. The etymology of these characters is very, very simple to explain. The first character is pronounced when it's pronounced shui, it means tax. And the sort of the semantic element in this character is this one over here, and it's pronounced he, and it means grain as in rice, or what have you. And in ancient times, people used grain to pay their taxes, so it's clear why it is the semantic element in this character. The second character is, its meaning is sharp. And the semantic element in it is pronounced tin, and it's a metal. The way you see it written over here on your screen is the traditional, the way we write it in traditional characters, and simplified is written like this, if I'm not mistaken. Something like that. Nonetheless, it's a metal. It's an element that we use in characters with the meaning metal, and it just points to the meaning sharp. The next character, or sort of when we enter into the next sub-series, phonetic series, when it's pronounced shuo, I guess a lot of you recognize this one. It means to say something or to speak. Speak. And the semantic element is this element over here, which is pronounced yen, and it means words, like words of a person. In simplified Chinese, written like this. Like, let me try that again. All right, like that. And so it's clearly the semantic element. And then we have the second pronunciation of this character, which is shui. And if the character is pronounced shui, it means to persuade someone. persuade. The next character is pronounced tuo, and it means to either to sort of like tuo yifu, it means to take off your clothes. If you say tuo shui, it means to if you have a washing machine and you press the button tuo shui, it means it will just spin dry the clothes. So it means like sort of get rid of something that is excessive or something like that. And the original meaning of this character was to sort of get, like when you eat, to get the meat, the flesh of the bone. And the semantic element in this character is this one over here, pronounced well, it looks like yue, it looks like this yue, but it's and it should mean, if it would be pronounced yue, it would be moon. It would be like the moon that we have on the sky, but actually it's not. When you have an element over here which is written just like the moon, it is actually ro, which is meat. So ro, if it's a standalone character, you write it like this. And when it's a part of characters on the left side as a semantic element, you write it like this. Actually, I think in traditional Chinese there is a slight differentiation between the moon, which would be written like this, and then ro would be written something like this, if I'm not mistaken. Either way, the element is not moon, it's ro, which means meat, and so it means, I would say, to take off. To take off something. Alright, so we have two characters left. The first character is pronounced yue, and it means joy. So basically it means the same thing as the title phonetic element. What might have happened was that this title character later on was mainly used for the meaning exchange, or both meanings were used for this character, and just to mark the sort of the difference, they created this character over here, which is basically the title phonetic element plus new semantic, which is this here, which is shin, and shin is a heart. And if you've watched my previous videos, you know that whenever you have heart as a semantic element in characters, it points to abstract meanings that have something to do with emotions or situations and things like that. So this is a semantic element pointing to the meaning joy. So really what might have happened was that the character dui was originally, as we see over here, used for two different meanings, and then to sort of mark this difference, a new character was created by adding this semantic element heart to it. And the last character is pronounced again yue, and it means to pass through, to like go through something. If you say yue du, it means to review, like to review a I don't know, a scientific paper or something like that. And let me just write that, to review, pass through, and the sort of the original meaning of the character was really to experience something, to pass through, like to go through something. And you will understand that in a second when I show you what the semantic element was. The semantic element is this entire thing here, which is pronounced mun, and mun is a door, basically like a real door. And so it points to the meaning sort of to pass through something. And then as an extension, you have review and experience, because at least that was the explanation that I read in the dictionary, is that when you sort of pass through the door, you go into a new experience. That's what the dictionary says. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this presentation. It's probably one of the most complicated phonetic series out there. There are more complicated ones, I know, but I haven't looked at them like in detail yet. But this series is definitely one of the more complicated ones. It's not complicated when it comes to explaining its like the etymology of individual characters and what their structure is and what individual elements are doing in them, but it's really difficult to explain why all of these characters belong to the same series, and why this title phonetic element is the leading phonetic character in all of them. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and I will see you in the next one.